of the same, share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace, joy to both sides. Together we shine in each other's lives. And now we stand in love's pure mind. Watching the world in love. Hearts beating in our peaceful flag. Colors of harmony, painting a night. Tonight we stand in love's pure mind.
Okay, guys, the president just started less than a minute ago, so let's get right to it and see what's happening from the Oval Office.
I'm just getting started.
They're both doing very well, and now you're going to do better than both of them. Thanks as well to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary Doug Burgum, Secretary Scott Turner, Secretary Doug Collins, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who's got some pretty good news, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary, NIH Director Dr. J.
Guys, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who's doing a fantastic job, and Director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter. I also want to introduce a great friend of mine who happened to be here, and he's very much committed to this. He knows how important it is for our country. He's built a tremendous American company. It's called WeatherTech. I guess you've seen the ads. I've seen the ads. I think they're great ads, but more importantly, it's a great product. David McNeil. David, congratulations on what you've done. It's incredible.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Really great. And the president of WeatherTech, Ryan Granger. Ryan, congratulations. What a great job. They built an American company, and it's a thriving company too. So with a great product.
Great to be here in America.
You know, when I was in the private sector, I'd always buy the floor mats, but now that I'm president, I no longer have to buy floor mats. But you made a great floor mat, and you still do, and lots of other things. Many of those with me today have personally known the heartache of a loved one taken by drug or alcohol addiction. I do, just like millions of American families. Every year we lose an estimated 300,000 people to drug and alcohol abuse. And the real number is probably much, much higher than that. Thankfully, drug overdose deaths plummeted by 21% in the last year. We're working very hard on it. We've closed the southern border, seized over 47 million fentanyl pills and 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. That's a record. And I have formally designated Dr. And I'll tell you what, we have a group of doctors, some of them behind me, who have just been incredible, and they've really wanted this, designated the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And for some reason, they didn't want to do that until we came along, but they are indeed foreign terrorist organizations. With our action in the Gulf of America, that sounds so nice when I hear the Gulf of America. Drugs entering our country by sea are down 97%. So when you see the boats being hit, those boats kill on average 25,000 people a boat. So that's 25,000, I would assume mostly American lives, but lives are being saved. Now we're taking a bold action to help Americans struggling with all forms of addiction so they can get the help and the support that they need to free themselves from the horrible burden of dependency. The Great American Recovery Initiative will bring together federal, state, local, and private sector resources to support addiction, recovery, treatment, and prevention. And it will help mobilize the full resources and authority of the federal government to help stop this tremendous plague. And I'd now like to invite Secretary Kennedy to start, and then Catherine Burgum, and then I'll sign the order, which I've just signed. And wanted to make sure the signature was good, took my time. And we can, let me just see, pretty good, pretty good. Let's give it a 10, okay? Catherine. For Catherine. But I'd like Bobby to say a few words, and Catherine. Thank you very much, everybody. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for your leadership, for signing an executive order that tells the truth about one of the greatest challenges that our country faces. Addiction is not a moral failure. It is a disease. It's chronic, it's treatable. And for too long, our nation has responded with fragmentation, with stigmatization and silence instead of science, compassion, and coordination. Today, President Trump changes that. With the Great American Recovery Initiative, we finally bring the full strength of the federal government together across healthcare, law enforcement, housing, labor, faith communities, and the private sector to save lives, restore families, and rebuild communities that addiction has hollowed out. Nearly 50 million Americans suffer from substance use disorder. Many never receive treatment. Even more don't believe that help is possible. That is not because recovery doesn't work. It's because our systems have failed to reach the people where they are early enough, long enough, and with dignity. This initiative fixes that. We will align federal programs instead of letting them operate in silos. We will set clear, measurable goals and report honestly to the American people. We will use evidence-based care, modern science, and continuous support, just as we do for heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses. We will focus on prevention before addiction takes hold. We will intervene early. We will expand access to treatment that leads to real long-term recovery. And we will support reentry because recovery does not end when treatment ends. It succeeds when people return to their families, their jobs, and their communities with purpose and with hope. As co-chair of this initiative alongside of Catherine Burgum, whose leadership and commitment strengthens this work, I pledge urgency, accountability, and honesty. Catherine and I share the experience of having been addicted and long-term recovery. But almost everybody in this room and almost everybody in our country has been touched by addiction. Steve Witkoff, who's here, had an extraordinary son, Andrew, who was a superstar boy, a straight A student, an athlete, and a wonderful leader, and lost that son to addiction. President Trump has talked about his own families who had a struggle with addiction. All of us are touched. If it touches these people, it can hurt every American. And President Trump has often talked about, with compassion, about the families who lose children to this disease. 100,000 children a year until recently. Now it's about 76,000. Those families are devastated forever. And the cost to our country, not only in dollars, but in just the malaise and the despair that it imposes, is incalculable. We are going to listen to states, localities, frontline providers, and tribal nations. We will partner with communities and faith-based organizations. We will work with employers, clinicians, and recovery leaders who know what works on the ground. President Trump has already acted decisively, securing the border against deadly drugs, signing the Halt Fentanyl Act, strengthening treatment programs, expanding access to naloxone, medication-assisted treatments, and investing billions in prevention and recovery. This executive order builds on that record and accelerates it. Recovery is not a side issue, it's an economic issue, a workforce issue, a family issue, a national security issue. When Americans recover, communities grow stronger. When families heal, children thrive. And when we confront addiction with courage instead of complacency, we reclaim the promise of our country. This initiative is about life, it's about responsibility, and it's about building a great American recovery together. With this executive order and with major announcements that I will announce next week, we are taking decisive action to make America healthy again. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby, and great job. And you're doing a fantastic job. He's doing a fantastic job. And I saw his wife yesterday, and she confirmed that he's doing a fantastic job. So she's on your side. You know that, which is great. And Oz, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Catherine, please, go ahead.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. President. Thank you so much. Your leadership today, relative to this announcement about the Great American Recovery, is a gift to all Americans who are suffering from the brain disease of addiction. I also want to thank First Lady Melania Trump for her leadership during your first administration, and now the work she's doing championing youth and children, especially related to foster care, where early trauma and instability are often consequences of the disease of addiction. Addictions touch this administration in real and profound ways. President Trump, you've openly spoke about your brother Fred, who struggled with addiction, shaped your life and your understanding of this disease. And Susie Wiles carries the lived experience of her father, the late, great Pat Summerall, whose recovery journey became a source of hope for millions. Vice President Vance has shared his story of his mother's battle and recovery. And as Secretary Kennedy just said, he brings his own lived experience, proof that recovery is not theoretical, it is possible. These stories matter because they are not isolated. They reflect the reality of the over 190 million Americans, that's half our nation, who are impacted in some way by the disease of addiction. And I am one of them. I started drinking in high school, and I was a blackout drinker from the start. For 20 years, I struggled, relapsing constantly starting over, constantly trying to stay sober and failing. I reached a point where I truly did not believe there was one single reason for me to keep living, and I was suicidal at the end of my drinking. One day I was out walking alone. I didn't have faith. I wasn't religious, but something in me said I should ask for help. And out loud to no one, because it was just me, I said, I don't know if anyone is there, but I need help. And that was the day I became sober. 15 years later, I found myself somehow standing in front of people as First Lady of North Dakota, thanks to him. But I was asking people to share their stories openly about addiction so we could eliminate the shame and stigma, so more people would reach out for help and more lives could be saved. And today I'm standing here in this incredibly beautiful Oval Office. And if not for the grace of God, I would not be alive today with over 23 years in recovery. That's why I'm here. And my message is simple: never give up hope for recovery. Mr. President, I also want to thank you for allowing me to stand here with you today. I was in this building in 2017 when the administration announced the national response to the opioid crisis. And nearly a decade later, the crisis remains, and in many ways, it has grown worse. Not because we lacked compassion, not because we lack effort, but because we never fully aligned our system with the truth. Addiction is not a moral failure. It is not a character flaw, and it's not simply a behavioral issue. Addiction is a lifelong, chronic, relapsing medical disease, as real as diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. And when we fail to treat it as such, we don't treat the disease, and we pay mightily for the consequences. Emergency rooms, jails, foster care, overdose deaths, and broken families. The Great American Recovery changes that. This initiative represents a fundamental shift from reaction to prevention, from fragmentation to coordination, from stigma to science, from short-term fixes to long-term recovery. And for the first time, we're aligning federal leadership across health, justice, labor, housing, veterans, social services, the faith office, and education around one single shared truth. When addiction is treated early and correctly, people recover and families heal. Addiction is a generational disease, and if we don't treat it properly, it repeats from parent to child, from community to community. And when we treat it like a lifelong condition, the condition that it is, we stop that cycle. We save lives, we restore families, we rebuild communities, we return people to dignity, purpose, and productivity. Mr. President, thank you for seeing this moment clearly. With your leadership and the Great American Recovery Initiative, we're establishing a new framework and a new national response to the disease of addiction, including treatment and care that parallels other chronic diseases. With this framework and treatment, recovery is not the exception, it is the expectation. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. so lucky. You know, I saw them riding horses in a video. And they said, who is that? I was talking about her, not him. And they explained it. I said, I'm going to hire him because anybody has somebody like you to be with. It's an amazing tribute. And it's a great couple, amazing couple. And she's very much a part of his big success. He was a fantastic success, as you know, having been one of the most successful business people. And I saw him campaigning, a great governor, two-term governor. He did a fantastic job, North Dakota. And he's done a great job. And I'll tell you what, Catherine's a very big part of it. I see it. It's just really one of the fantastic couples. So I appreciate it. What a beautiful job you've just done. And I'm going to give this to you, and you can figure out what you're going to do with Bobby. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do. But let's have a good picture of the two of them and everyone else. And I'd like to ask Steve Whitcuff also to say a couple of words when we're finished, because he's a very special person who I knew very well, an incredible person. So if you don't mind, Steve, I'll ask you to do that in just a second. All right? Please, Bob. Okay. Thank you very much. You can. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Steve, please.
The president is doing the same thing to me now that he did to me in 2017. Do you remember, Catherine?
Yeah, we were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to tell the story about this. So I came to the opioid conference, and the president did not know I was coming because I was invited by the First Lady. And he leaned over, saw me in the aisle, and he looked at me and he said, Steve, and then he realized why I was there, because I had lost my son, Andrew. And the president was an incredible friend when I lost him. I lived in his building at 502 Park Avenue. And I remember when him and the First Lady came, and I talked about this all the time. And so he took my hand and he said to me, come on up to the stage and tell the world about your boy, Andrew. And of course, that was, something that was really meaningful to me, but, and I got through it. And I talk about it all the time. I talked about it on the campaign trail and so forth. He is a very special man. And he's begun and led the fight against opioid addiction and alcoholism. And Catherine, I feel like we sort of bonded from that day. And it's just my blessing to work for you, sir.
He's a special guy. He and a group of people, Jared helped and others helped. Steve, peace in the Middle East, and we're there.
Yes.
A couple of little flames, but they're very little by comparison, and they'll go out quickly. They're already going out. And he's now trying very hard to settle up with Russia and Ukraine, and I think a lot of progress is being made there. And I told that Russia's not doing any shooting for a period of time during this horrendously cold weather.
Because of you.
So we asked President Putin if they could stop the shooting for a week. They're being hit with proportionately the kind of cold that we're being hit. It's much colder in Ukraine to start off with, but it's really cold now. And he agreed to do that. We appreciated that very much. It's a nasty war. It's a nasty, nasty war. Would anybody else have anything to say? I can say that I am extremely late, but that's okay. Don't worry about me. Would anyone else have anything to say? Doug, you're doing a fantastic job. We appreciate it. Marty, you are really something special. Everyone's talking about you every time. If I don't mention Marty, Bobby always mentions it. So we have a great team. Jay, great. Marty, great. You guys want to say something?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, historically, with addiction, the entire society has always been reactionary. And that's been the story of healthcare. But at the FDA, we are looking into incredible cutting-edge therapeutics, and we are being proactive, giving them vouchers when we see something that's promising to get an approval as quick as weeks in an era of a 10 to 12-year approval time. And the ultimate therapeutic is community, houses of worship, addressing loneliness. And so that's part of the MAHA agenda, thanks to Bobby's. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Jay?
Mr. President, in 2018, you launched the HEAL initiative, helping to end addiction long-term at the NIH. It's paid fruit. It's yielded fruit. The ingenuity of small business has developed products that can deal with pain without opioids. The naloxone, which saves lives,
Right.
that was the fruit of NIH. And for the kinds of investments that are your administration that you made, starting from the first Trump term to now, will continue to pay dividends. The kind of research that the NIH is doing will help turn the tide, make people's lives so much better, restore families. All of the addiction that we've seen, 80,000 deaths we saw, the huge spike in addiction deaths, during the first Biden term is going to be a thing of the past. And I'm so proud to be part
And
of this.
fellas, some great things happening, right?
Yeah.
Marty, it's great, really great things happening, I hear. And some pretty big announcements over a short period of time, right?
Yep. Moving drugs over the counter so you don't need a prescription.
You're right.
Naloxone, which treats opioid, is one of those drugs. And we're being proactive with synthetic 7-OH, a new opioid that's showing up. And we're working with the DOJ on addressing that because chemists are coming up with new opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's great. No, I hear fantastic things. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Oz. He's doing a fantastic job. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Mr. President, can you respond to the new Fox poll that says people think ICE's tactics are too aggressive?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Are we gonna flip for this or what are we gonna do? Oh, sorry, I really do.
All right, so I guess that's it. That's pretty weird. That was a short little presentation. At any rate, we're going to move on and discuss something that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I couldn't bring it up. So now I can, and I want to go over this with you. Before I get started, though, did you guys notice in the beginning of the presentation by the president, he talked about how people have addictions to drugs and alcohol? His brother was actually an associate of mine, and he had an alcoholism problem. It eventually contributed toward his life. He lived here in New York, not too far from me. But one thing he told me in regards to a lot of things he talked about was about taxes. The father really had an issue with taxes, especially in New York on property taxes. But he also expressed how Donald Trump really was such a great baseball player, he could have made it to the league. Now, that was his brother's words, but he was a really great guy, but unfortunately, he died a few years back, and he would always eat at the diner, but much different than the president. So for me to cover the president, go to the trial and actually see him and receive those 34 felonies, they were quite, you wouldn't even think they were brothers. They had similar features, but his brother was more of what I would say a regular guy. But at any rate, we're going to get to what's happening in Georgia. Believe it or not, the president of the United States, he'll probably say when it comes to Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, remember the charges brought upon Donald Trump, actually when he was about to run for president. A lot of people said the Democrats were using it as a strategy to keep him from becoming the president, right? Remember that? It was aired on television, such a big deal. Well, now the tables have turned. And even though these individuals are masters of the law, they're prosecuting attorneys probably at the highest level, I don't think they're going to be able to weather the storm now that the FBI has raided Fulton County in the election and so forth. It's going to be quite interesting, but all roads are going to lead back to that case, and we're starting to see it. Remember John Bolton? He's facing the heat. What about Comey, Letitia James? Everybody has to sit in that seat. In fact, I've even started to see with Donald Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen. He's starting to appear to be in fear because it's just a matter of time before the president put him in the hot seat, in the hot chair. And I can imagine he's going to be cooked slow too. And I think he'll probably be one of the last that feel the heat. But, the legal system is tough. And now the president has all the cards. And we're starting to see case by case, everyone that went up against the man, they're all getting hit one by one, right? There's something we're covering most of these cases. As you guys know, I go to the courthouse and I cover these cases, sit in court all day in those hard seats and listen to all these details. In many cases, especially with the president's case here in New York, his case was at 100 Center Street in Manhattan. He would come in every day and basically, because unlike Sean Diddy Combs, who would be brought in by the marshals in the court, they would unchain him and let him come into the courtroom, tell him where to sit down. $1 billion man. And these guys say, here, you sit there, you get up. Okay, we're going to take you back to the jail now, right? Well, in the case of Donald Trump, he actually walked in the same doors that we walked into. I was actually in court with Donald Trump when Costello, which I believe his name was, he was an attorney that in court, they tried to say Rudy Giuliani allegedly tried to set up a back channel to Costello. Well, the judge, it was quite clear he did not like Donald Trump. So one day we were sitting in court. Donald Trump was sleeping pretty much most of the day. This time he was up, and this guy Costello was very testy with the judge, and the judge told him to cool it or else he would be in trouble. The guy still was being very facetious with the judge. So the judge said, everybody get out of the courtroom, and they made all of us leave out of the courtroom, including Donald Trump, and we all went into the back lobby area right behind the courtroom, and we were just basically hanging out there. And actually, the president was just standing right there close to most of us. At the end of the day, he would come out of the courtroom, and immediately they would put him in front of the cameras and let him give his spiel. You guys would often see that maybe on Fox and also some of the other channels. A lot of the stations would have it there. But just giving you a little bit of the backdrop. Now we're going to look at this new investigation that's coming out of Fulton County. And that's where his case was in Georgia. Do not get it twisted if you think he's not coming after these individuals who basically brought those charges on him. And it's no fun when a rabbit has the gun, right? It's no fun. I feel for these individuals because unlike what we've seen with Donald Trump, right? Some of these cases, he was impeached. They brought all these charges on the man, but they never could execute on him. Now, when I say execute, I'm not talking about as far as trying to take his life. I'm saying execute or close these cases. But I think when it comes to Donald Trump, we won't see that. I think these individuals that have issues or brought these cases on him, this time around when he has the power, you might see some of these individuals really face the heat. And they are going to need a lot of attorneys. They're going to need a lot of help because it's not easy, because we see what's happening. Make no mistake about it. We've seen it one by one. All of these individuals that had an issue with Donald Trump, now they are facing the heat. And I even saw Michael Cohen today in one of his interviews. He just seems like he knows the smoke is coming. Maybe he should have did the Russell Simmons and get out of the country. I don't even know if that would save you, because I was in court recently and I saw where Nicolas Maduro, again, I was sitting behind him, maybe about 4 rows, and his wife, they had them sitting side by side. He came into the courtroom, said, Happy New Year, almost like he was going to the park. You wouldn't imagine that the guy's locked up, but that was the persona that he chose to put on. But at any rate, you see how the United States government was able to use some sort of technology to freeze their Cuban soldiers in time. 32 of them were wiped out probably in the blink of an eye. In court, as I've said many times before, and I don't hear the big media talking about it, but when Maduro's wife, her name is Celia Flores, when she stood up, she had her hands behind her back crossing, right? But for some reason, she turned around to look at the audience because toward the end of the day, there was some individual sitting with me in the row. Actually, one was in the row in front of me, another one was in the row behind me. They had served as prisoners in Venezuela, so they came to antagonize Nicolas Maduro. Now, when we go to court, the first thing the marshals do, they say no chewing gum, you can only drink water, no soda, no tea, no talking, do not talk to the judge, do not talk to Maduro, do not talk to his wife. And these guys stood up and they tried to make a big deal. So they started talking to him in Spanish, basically telling him he's going to pay for what he did to them and also the Venezuelan people. Maduro was going right back to them saying, listen, I'm a president of Venezuela. I'm a man of God. So he was using that type of terminology. But at any rate, the point of the matter is everyone that Donald Trump wants to get, we're starting to see them actually, in the case of a president of another country, we see the man coming to the courtroom. And I went to Sean Diddy Combs' case every day for 9 weeks. I was even there for the jury selection. I never once heard chains being dropped when Sean Diddy Combs came into the courtroom every morning. But for Maduro, they made sure to have all the drama, and you could hear the chains drop and hit the floor. And it's quite the message. You can hear all of the Donald Trump written right on it. He sends his messages. So now we're going to see what's happening. I'm going to play the video now and show you what's happening in Fulton County. You're going to start to see that you don't want to be on the opposite side of this president because it's not a safe place to be. Let's check it out. Thank you. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe.
Criminal search warrant.
And who's the defendant?
And the criminal search warrant is under seal.
Right.
So we don't even know who the target of the investigation is. This is nothing but sowing the seeds of distrust, right? This is a full frontal attack on democracy. This is a code red in America, in Fulton County. We've seen it in Minneapolis, and now we're seeing it here in Fulton County. We must do everything that we can to protect the right to vote. These records are under seal. Judge McBurney has not issued an order opening these records or allowing these records to be viewed by the government. And until and unless he enters such an order, these records should not be seen or viewed by anyone. And so we're thankful to have our partners here from the state standing with us, because this again is a full frontal attack on democracy. And certainly,
you know what? I mean, let me just say that we are going to, if there's a question of are we going to take all legal action to make sure that, this, what I consider to be an assault on voters.
Apparently, they did not see or hear of what happened to Maduro. They're not getting the point. You really can't do anything when this president come after you, right? It is what it is. You have to face it, and it's not going to be pretty.
This is an assault on your vote. So I think that, Marvin is an attorney. I'm an attorney. We are all trying to figure out what to do about this. But what we know is that does not even matter. We know in America right now, it does not even matter if what you are saying is the right thing. If our president wants to bring in the forces, he will, and he has. And so it's in Fulton County now. So we have to protect. You need to go to your voter page, make sure that you are still registered to vote. You need to check every week. You need to be unafraid of these scare tactics, and you need to go out there and vote, because what they're mostly afraid of is that you will vote them out. That is what they are afraid of, because midterm elections are going to be a course correction in this country, and they know it. And that's what they're afraid of. So we will not be deterred. We will work together in Fulton County. We will work together with our state partners, and we will move forward, and we will be here protecting your right to vote in Fulton County.
Now, I can tell you the play already. They're going to come out and say they found fraud in Fulton County. And now you're going to see the National Guard over there. And when midterm elections come through, you're going to see a whole different arrangement. I can see the play already. Remember this moment, what I'm saying to you. They're going to claim fraud probably within the next 48 hours, and it's going to change the entire game in Georgia. Other states are going to see the same thing.
County is a majority Democratic county. So don't be confused as to why this is happening in Fulton County. It's very easy. Follow it. This is not difficult. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, this is something that's so above my heads. It's not above your heads. You need to understand it as the people. You have the power to change this. And you know that this election in 2026 is going to be in your hands. So let's protect it.
Why do you think this is happening right now?
I mean, because it's never too early to start.
It's retribution. He is enacting retribution. He's enacting retribution on Fulton County,
That's
on
right.
Minnesota, on places that did not vote for him.
They have to tell this guy, don't stand in the way. He don't want to come across the radar, or he'll be in the hot seat too.
Why isn't he asking for the 2024 ballots?
Commissioner, explain again the difference.
How about the 2024 ballots? Do they want those, or there were no issues in 2024?
They couldn't get the ballots, so now this is a criminal offense, but there's no named defendant.
That's right.
Yeah, so there is a civil lawsuit going on where they were seeking the exact same records. They sent a subpoena. It was denied because of the existing court order that put those records under seal, put these voting records under seal, and they couldn't get it then. They sent a subpoena. They've done it like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And so since they could not get it the proper way legally through civil action, now miraculously there is a
Criminal action.
criminal action with an unnamed defendant. Who's the unnamed defendant? What is this about? Well, if it was criminal, why didn't they file the criminal search warrant prior to getting denied 2 times in the civil court?
They don't want to telegraph and show their hand. It's quite clear, but there's someone that's going to be a defendant. It's already in writing, but they just don't know who it is. But they're about to find out, really.
Warrant, when it is served, supposed to be unsealed.
I do not know. I think a judge needs to answer that question. And I have asked the county attorney, and Commissioner Ivory has asked the county attorney to file whatever we can file in order to stop this madness.
Are you hearing about other raids happening in other counties?
No, I heard they're going to try to, the FBI is supposed to be doing a press conference here at 6 o'clock.
Scoot over so we can bring Shay and Eric.
Yes, yes.
Yes. I think it's very important to bring our clerk of Superior Court, Madam Shay Alexander, who's been dealing with this all day because the records are under her chain of custody.
Madam Clerk, can you talk about what it was like to see?
I'm going to see if there is a press conference with the FBI. I would love to broadcast that tonight too. So we'll see. If you guys happen to see it while I'm streaming, let me know and I'll pull it up.
Not at this time. I can't.
Can you tell us?
I'm still processing it. I came out to go to the store to get some water and saw my colleagues and wanted to say hi.
Yeah, she's smart. She says, I'm not coming into the crossfire.
I'm just trying to get my staff some water right now. That's all I can do.
Right now, clerk?
I don't know what's going on.
So I'll say this: the first warrant was to the elections hub, which was incorrect, and so that had to be sent back, and they had to get a new warrant directed to the clerk of Superior Court, Madam Shay, because she is the.
You know, it's no different than a child when you say, hey, little Johnny, did you eat the cookies? And he says, oh, no, I didn't eat the cookies. But if he did eat the cookies and he might be in trouble, then you're going to see some hemming and hawing and some weird activity. So if they are clean, you know, it might be frustrating, but they shouldn't have anything to worry about. But if there is something to hide, Lord have mercy.
The holder of the archives from the elections. And so apparently they have now done that. They're now going in there. My question is, I want to make sure that there is a full and complete.
And by the way, I predicted this probably 6 months ago. You guys probably remember, I told you they're going to go after Fulton County. Donald Trump has it on his list. You're also going to see Michael Cohen. Watch what happens.
Inventory, because these are the original voting records, original absentee ballots, right? And so once that stuff leaves our custody, where is the chain of custody? Once it leaves our control, how can we know if we're going to get everything back? How can we know if they might do.
Have you guys heard that the voting ballot machines are made in Venezuela? You start putting all this stuff together, right? Just think about it, right? Do some research.
Something
We won't.
we
know.
won't.
We don't know.
mischievous
We
with the
won't, and we
records,
don't
right?
know.
They're taking
They might
pallets.
lose
Yeah.
them.
We're not doing any.
Yeah,
we don't even know what they're taking.
The ballots are on pallets because because Fulton County runs great elections, and elections from 2020 would already be archived, sealed, put in boxes, put on pallets, and secured. They wouldn't just be boxes floating around, allowed to be accessed. So they already are on pallets, and they're removing the whole pallets. So how can we then inventory what they're taking? You can only see what is happening on the outside of the.
You might as well just let them take it because they're going to take what they want anyway. They have the president backing them. And he may not state it because I noticed with all of these cases, Letitia James, John Bolton, Donald Trump, be like, oh, yeah, I saw that on the news, too. He got arrested. Oh, yeah, he's a crazy guy, you know, something like that. He pretends like he has no clue why they're getting jammed up. But we all know the play. We could see it. And these people, obviously, they don't follow watching the world or the news, or they know better, right?
Pallet, you would not be able to see on the inside what the boxes are on the pallets. This is intentional.
Going in and out of the building all afternoon. Have the ballots actually left the building?
Yeah, they're leaving the building right now. What did the warrant say? The warrant said all the 2020 ballots, absentee ballots. No, they said what they were coming here to get, and they're getting it.
How does this search warrant supersede the seal? That's the part I think we're not understanding.
Because it's criminal versus civil. The seal is a civil case. They came and brought a criminal case, so that is why it's not connected. And that's what the lawyers are working on right now. What do we do next? And we have there's a band of lawyers right here working on it all. It's intentional for people to be in office who have the skills to deal with these things. And all of us are trying to come together to figure out what to do next. There's a band of people.
Did you guys hear about Pam Bondi in Minnesota saying, basically, allegedly, she's saying that she'll pull or they'll pull ICE out of the state, right? If they hand over the voting information, right? So all of these little things that are happening has voting in the mix somewhere. Just start paying attention, putting all this together.
Working on what, because we're under assault. I mean, I think you know that.
Is this unprecedented?
Of course. He's unprecedented. Right? It is. How confident are we? It is. We just had a town hall last week on Thursday about elections. We knew this was.
Okay, Kennedy is on fire. Kennedy says state judges do not supersede the executive branch. She's really doing great things in the chat, holding us down. You're amazing. Thank you.
It's going to happen. This is about sowing the seed of fear that people will not show up to the polls in May and November. This is what it is. We're 100% sure this is what it is.
Do any of our state reps want to say anything?
Pedo Nightmare, thank you for becoming a subscriber. Thank you.
Certainly, we're glad to have you all speak.
Representative Draper is our resident voting rights expert to talk about where we are.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Syra Draper. I'm the State House Representative for House District 90. Ever since 2020, there is a man who cannot get over the fact that he lost here in Georgia. He simply cannot get over it. And now, in a vindictive nature, he is coming after us. Now, since 2020, there have been many attempts to get at the documents in Fulton County and to undermine the confidence in what Fulton County has done. But there have been audits after audits. There have been court cases filed here in Fulton County to find out what has gone on. There has been an independent investigation through the SCB that absolved Fulton County of any kind of.
So you hear what she's saying, right? They've been absolved. There's no issue. I guarantee you this leads to some sort of criminal activity. Somebody's going to sit in the hot seat. They should see it coming.
Misconduct or systemic voter fraud, right? That simply has not happened here. I would tell you if this administration had a genuine interest in getting to voter fraud, they should be investigating Coffee County, where we have actual evidence of people going into the election office after hours and copying election documents, but there's not an interest in going to Coffee County, which is a red county. Fulton County is being targeted because
Anthony says Congress is a place for national tantrums, not the streets. Right. It's like trying to argue with an officer on side the road trying to litigate a case. You're not going to win. You have to go through the formal format, right? Thank you, Anthony.
because it is the largest county in Georgia and it is the home of Atlanta.
That's right.
So this does not pass the smell test, obviously. They have failed at every juncture to be able to get these documents. And so they have now found this loophole to try and get to it. But I will tell you that we are not done. We are going to continue to stand up for the rights of voters. And I agree with every.
Now, as Robin says, trouble is they probably don't have all the ballots. Fear is dripping in Georgia. That's going to be a big problem. If they come up short on one ballot, just imagine how this whole thing is going to go. It won't look good.
Everything Commissioner Ivory said, that the best thing that you can do as a Georgia citizen is get to the polls and cast your ballot, because they wouldn't be trying so hard to stop you from voting if they weren't worried about what the impact would be. Thank you. Anybody else like to?
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Can we clarify once again just when and why the ballots were placed under seal? Just for clarification.
I think that's the normal process. Yeah. That is the normal process. I said Commissioner Barrett has joined us. Certainly, if you want to say something, Commissioner Barrett, the normal process is for those records to be under seal.
Yeah. They aren't just for people to be able to come and review, right? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm also just coming out after talking to all of our experts. I mean, obviously, we're doing everything.
When have you heard about the FBI showing up and they didn't have some solid information, right? This is the federal government, right? So you can only imagine how rough it's going to get in Fulton County.
That we must legally, but I agree with my colleagues. We are all absolutely going to stand up and make sure that Fulton County voters get to cast their vote in the 2026 election and the 2028 election. There is no
Caprello, I have not heard about it, but I definitely will research it. Thank you.
Excuse for the state elections board to take over our elections. As I said earlier today, this is political theater. It is a distraction from the actions that are, of ICE in Minnesota, killing people, the threats of Pam Bondi to not leave Minnesota if they don't turn over their voter rolls. I mean, this is the kind of things that are happening. So, this is just unacceptable, and we are following the law, but we will defend Fulton County votes at all costs.
Has anything been filed that will keep the papers here? A stay, filed to the judge, so we can try to get a stay, anything where these documents cannot leave here. Because we do know how important it is.
Yeah.
These are
Not yet. We've asked the attorney to take the appropriate action.
So put a 1 in the chat if you think that Fulton County is going to be hit with a massive voter fraud dilemma, or put a 2 if you think the feds are going to come up empty-handed. What do you think? Tell us 1 or 2.
And she is investigating to see what can be filed and under what circumstances it can be filed. But certainly we don't want to get in the way of a criminal investigation, but it's a criminal investigation to nowhere.
Yeah, and I will only add that I know our county attorneys are talking to some of the top criminal attorneys that are in town and know how to handle these cases. So we're getting advice from the best.
Yeah.
One more thing.
They're already getting those criminal defense attorneys. We have to get Calvin Johnson, our home attorney. He's here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. We're going to have to talk with him about it. Also, Candace Kelly, who was on last night, she's a law professor. We'll have to get her point of view, because this is going to be quite the case. Sound like it might be cases, right?
I do think this is a pretext for trying to take over Fulton County elections. The Georgia legislature with SB 202 passed a provision that the state could overtake specific counties if certain circumstances were met. They attempted to.
She's saying the same thing that I was saying a few minutes ago, right? They're going to be taking over that Fulton County. They're probably going to be taking over Georgia, period, when it comes to voting.
Do that with Fulton County, but the independent report recommended that the state not take over Fulton County elections. So they tried to do this, they failed, and now they're going for another bite at the apple. So that is a very real risk when the Republican-run Georgia state government tries to overtake what's happening in Fulton County and what's happening with Fulton voters who have elected their representatives to run their elections.
Yeah, there are multiple things going on in Fulton. There are multiple things going on in Fulton County right now that we are battling. So this is just one of many. I think you'll see the attack on Fulton get even deeper as we get closer and closer, and as the elections begin to play them.
Richard says, why are they just in Fulton County? We have to go back to the case that was brought on Donald Trump, and then you'll see all roads lead to Fulton County. In fact, they said that was probably the number one case that could have knocked Donald Trump off of the road to the presidency. But they fumbled on the case because there was a little romance and a little traveling and spending money and honey dipping and all that. And everything fell apart, right?
Out. So I think this is to be continued, certainly not just what's happening today.
I think it's also worth noting that the 2024 election, nobody's questioning that.
Yeah, right.
The 2024 election in Fulton County went perfectly. You know who won? You wonder why? That's why. So we know our elections are run smoothly here. No matter what they take out of here, we already know what they're going to say about.
Absolutely. The FBI did not go to Mar-a-Lago just so that they could take a tour. Obviously, they had some serious case going on.
What they take. It's not going to be the truth. It's going to be that Fulton County did something wrong. Heaven forbid they put more of our election workers at risk with this new investigation.
And frankly, the 2020 election is a moot point. The 2020 election is moot. The election is over. The man has already been elected again. So why were we looking at anything with 2020? Why does it matter?
To militarize our elections and to scare people to going to the polls. That's why.
No, he wants people to go to jail. Believe that.
That is the only reason. This is not meant to be able to put him, give him something that he can get back. That election is way over. This is to make you fearful of moving forward. And we know that he does that really well, but we're not going to fall for it. And so we're going to move forward doing what Fulton County always does, runs fair and free and accurate elections. And that's what we do.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, just listening in there to that out of Fulton County, Georgia. And of course, this is a bombshell breaking news event taking place. And
remember that old song, The Heat Is On, right? You could just feel that these guys they have so much fear. Can you imagine having the president of the United States and his whole entire crew coming after you, especially when you held him in the hot seat and brought a case on? He has to travel, hire attorneys. This is going to be a mess, and it's going to dramatically affect voting in this country. They're going to use all of this. Once they say there's voter fraud, watch how the voting system probably will change. Donald Trump has already said, if you don't believe me, because a lot of people, they want to see the proof. I have a short that I put out last week, and in that short, Donald Trump actually states he's having a conversation with someone. I think the topic is that Donald Trump will not leave office in 2028. In the video, Donald Trump says, oh, so if we're at war, then that means we don't have to hold an election, right? So go check out the video and you'll start to see how things might go in 2028.
Fulton County, Georgia, the largest county there in the Peach State, as this search warrant, according to the Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory, relating to the 2020 election, as this search warrant for all ballots relating to that election some 6 years ago. We're still watching this unfold in real time, high atop, courtesy of some aerials, as they were talking about just the magnitude, the breadth of.
Okay, so Kennedy hit the nail on the head, said missing votes on ballots from non-citizens, or, they're going to say people that are no longer living, right? It's kind of like, remember with Elon Musk? Remember that play? Elon Musk says, oh, we're paying all this money to people who died 20, 30 years ago. Some of the people that are receiving Medicaid, Medicare, according to our records, should be 175 years old. And see, the key to our environment is all you have to do is say it from a high level. A lot of people are not going to go back and do the research to find out that it was a bunch of malarkey. Remember what happened with Jay-Z when the young girl came forward with the claims? Most people are going to just remember, oh, this guy got in trouble, he did that, they won't stick around, and some will not even care to know that the case was bullshit, right? But that's just how it works. So once they come out with these claims about Fulton County, people are just going to put up a stone wall and they're going to say, oh, there's voter fraud. Donald Trump has been saying that for years. Oh, my God. And then when they come back and change the voting system, they're going to say, well, it wasn't our fault. Look at what happened in Georgia and look what they did to me. You see what I'm saying? That's just how this thing works.
Of this investigation, this search warrant, as they said, these ballots were on pallets, just the amount of people that voted in that election that they're trying to seize. They are concerned that once they leave the facility, they won't have
Frank, why are you saying, oh, not Calvin? Tell us what the issue is. Thanks.
Of an inventory of them. They don't know exactly potentially where they will go. Also talked a little bit about the exact search warrant, said they came for the election hub for a search warrant, but they were turned away because the ballots were in the archive. So they had to go back, get a proper search warrant and then return. So you're just looking at some of these scenes high atop and just the kind of warehouse, the trucks that are needed to move this amount of paper with hundreds of thousands of people voting in the 2020 election. Of course, the FBI on Wednesday searched the election office central to the right-wing conspiracy theories over President Donald Trump's 2020 election loss, just 1 week after the Republicans.
Already at other media sources, they're saying they're finding documents in places unlabeled and in areas that documents should not be in. Very similar to what happened in Mar-a-Lago with the documentation, right? High security level documentation also found at Joe Biden's house. You know, you find some secure document up under a car that's being worked on in the garage. You know what I mean? Some weird activity. We're starting to hear things that resemble those cases as well.
The leader predicted prosecutions over a contest he basically insisted was tainted by widespread fraud. So you can see their police also on hand for this. Let's quickly take you back out here on Live Now from Fox to our Fox 5 team as they are breaking it all down with some context from Georgia.
At the national level are doing on a daily basis, and this is not a surprise.
Richard says it's a tactic for voter suppression. Thank you, Richard. And also Jim says game over for Fulton County. You're so right.
Us here in Fulton County.
This is absolutely crazy. A judge has sealed these records. Judge McBurney has these records under seal. They have filed a lawsuit seeking the exact same records and were denied access in that lawsuit. And because they were denied access in the civil lawsuit, they are now serving a criminal search warrant.
Mike says, I predict their defense will be racism. I know I'm on a limb with that one, but I'm going with it. All right. Thank you.
And who's the defendant?
And the criminal search warrant is under seal.
Right.
So we don't even know who the target of the investigation is.
And once again, I was able to get my hands on that warrant, and this is listing a criminal active investigation inside of that warrant. I did speak with FBI spokesperson here on the scene.
Now, this is all alleged. We're not holding you to anything, but put in the chat who you think the prime suspect is in this sealed criminal, right, charges. Who do you think that it might be? We're just going on a hope and a prayer or taking a wild guess. Tell us what you think.
Telling me that the DOJ is on their way here right now. We'll have a news conference or a statement or release some information of some sorts around 6 o'clock. So we will continue to be out here and monitor this situation, a very active situation that is going on right now and everly changing. But once again, as you heard from those state senators, they say this is a target for Fulton County, and Fulton County did nothing wrong. We're live in Fulton County tonight. I'm Larry Sproul, Fox 5 News.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So there you have it, guys. We covered the press conference for today. I'm going to go through a few more of the comments. We have some great comments today, but we have to be realistic here at Watching the World. I don't want to lead you astray, but believe you me, we saw it coming. We knew that Donald Trump would go after Fulton County. Anybody who came after him previously, they're all being dismantled one by one, or at least they're going out to have to hire these very expensive attorneys. That's enough to sink the ship for the average American who's just trying to live paycheck to paycheck or what have you. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for some of these individuals. Simon says Kash Patel cannot be trusted. All right. He's another one that can make your life miserable. He's one that has a lot of power when it comes to the FBI. You don't want those guys coming knocking your door down. They're not going to knock and ask you questions. They're going to take the door off the hinges. That's what we'll call it, off the hinges. And we could spend a night. In fact, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go one by one through the various people that have rubbed Donald Trump the wrong way. And they all ended up with some sort of case. John Bolton, Letitia James, right? James Comey. The list goes on. And the main one is Michael Cohen, his previous attorney, his former attorney. If I was him, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I'd be crying like a baby. Okay, Kennedy says, at risk of what? Keeping records legit. Well, they better hope they have everything accounted for, or we're going to hear about it in the media. And then after they do the big announcement about the fraud, and then they're going to announce the person, because believe you me, they're going to announce someone under investigation. I could take a wild guess. Let me see if we have some names in the chat. Did you guys come up with any names of individuals? Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae. Yes, indeed. Fannie Mae. Fannie Willis. Okay. I figured her name would be ringing. She was the leader of the band when it came to Donald Trump's trial and what he did allegedly in harmony with voter fraud and so forth. So I think that's the only one that I saw. Let's see here. Let me just make sure. Let's see. Who was it that wrote that? I want to make sure. I want to give out a prize. Okay. So let's see. Is it Scene Cass James? You are the winner. You answered the question, so you get $25. I need you to send your email. Just email to Watching the World and send your Cash App, and you'll get your $25. Thank you for participating and answering that question. Is very important. Thank you very much. All right. So at any rate, we're going to do a deep dive one night soon and go through the individuals that Donald Trump have on the chopping block, all of who brought some sort of case or was very instrumental in the cases that were brought on against him. All right. Narcan, welcome back. I saw you at the previous show. He says, I'm far right, so you're far right. Okay. All right. Sweet James says, insulated bubbles, stop it. The Supreme Court told those judges they had zero jurisdiction. Okay. All right. That's how those two cases fell apart in regards to Letitia James and James Comey. Okay. Thank you for that breakdown. I see you be hitting the books and paying close attention. Simon says Trump is fishing. That could be very true. And in most cases, they can indict anyone. Often you hear the attorneys, the judges say, you can indict a ham sandwich, right? So best believe they're going to pull someone out of the hat, and whoever that person is, we might actually see them get some time. You never know. Donald Trump is making examples out of people. That's what the president is doing. And so we have to stay tuned. We will be covering all of these different cases and topics. So stay tuned to Watching the World. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I think we had a great show covering. That was a weird meeting because earlier today I covered the president giving a special announcement at the press conference. And then they came back to talk about this executive order trying to save lives from drugs, right? From people that have various addiction problems and so forth. It's a good cause, but it just seems that press conference was a little weird. That's all. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I think we're going to be rescheduling Mama Flips. I don't think that show is going to happen tonight. I think she will be coming on a different night. But let me confirm that. Let's see here. Yes, so I believe the next show will be tomorrow at noon, News at Noon. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate the many people that support this channel. We've had about 10,000 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. I'm not sure how that happened. And I know at least 3,000 of those individuals are from Venezuela. So I'm going to try to make some moves that will put out content that you guys can enjoy in your language. We're working on that as we speak. But I will be covering Maduro, right? The president of Venezuela. And I'm pretty sure that's why the people felt the need to come follow me. So I definitely will be at court every day and will definitely help you people understand what's being said. And I always try to be accurate with the information as much as possible. Sometimes in court, you hear so much stuff, it can be quite confusing. And not being an attorney, sometimes it's even hard to process what's really happening, especially a lot of the jargon. But at any rate, we do our best here to present you guys with solid information. I find it quite interesting that the legacy media doesn't cover a lot of information, and I'm often shocked by that. I'm not sure. It's almost like everything is being controlled. And I learned that the hard way with Sean Diddy Combs, because I saw that with the legacy media from day one, if people at the top were against Sean Diddy Combs, they maintained that throughout the entire trial. And those that were for him, they maintained it. And then when they were trying to choose people to come on to their platforms, to their big networks, they chose people, obviously, that supported the narrative that big legacy media wanted to push. So it's not about truth. That's why I guarantee you, I could find some of you in the audience that would say, we didn't hear anything on legacy media that Maduro's wife, her face was bruised up. And also, you probably didn't hear that they were petitioning to the judge to go out for medical care to have her ribs examined. Now, she could have had a hard fall, right? But, you put two and two together and you start to wonder, like, what really happened when these individuals were picked up. But you don't hear certain things at the legacy media, and it just makes you wonder, are we being fed, carefully filtered words, just a narrative instead of being told the truth? And that's why we do what we do here at Watching the World. And it's nice to have attorneys on because they are able to help us understand what's being said from a legal perspective. And that's very important because we look at things through the narrow lens of media, but you have an attorney there, such as Calvin Johnson, or you have the law professor, right? She comes on, she teaches law, and last night she was here breaking it down, helping us understand from a high level. That's about as high as you get. Someone that's been a professor for 20 years. Can you imagine that, right? We're so blessed to have these high caliber people on, and I have some conservative people coming on as well. Hopefully we can get Michael Cohen on. I think that would be so terrific. I'm really vying hard to get him on the channel. So let's keep pushing. Let's stay at it. I know we have a lot of people here that don't agree. We have a lot of Republicans. We have a lot of Democrats, a lot of independents, such as myself. And I know we don't agree, but we have to try to have a meeting of the minds, because other than that, it all turns into name calling and trying to take each other out. In what sense does that help, right? It really doesn't help at all. The more we can come together and have good dialogue, the better we can be as a country. Because I often tell people, Like sometimes I know some of my neighbors in my neighborhood, they may not appreciate someone of my personality for whatever reason, right? And I may not appreciate all of them. We may have our differences. But if someone comes in that's foreign to our neighborhood, I guarantee you we would all put our differences aside in order to try to solve the imminent danger at hand. And so when the other countries come to America to destroy, I guarantee you the last thing you're going to be asking your neighbor, and I won't say the country, but the last thing you'll ask your neighbor is, what party are you, right? At that point, you're going to try to preserve your life and take care of your family. That's what this thing is all about. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. I know what it's like to get up in the morning and you just want to go rough somebody up or, you know, troll a little bit. It's a part of human nature to do that. But at the end of the day, at the core of the matter, we have to figure out a way to try to get along with people. Because the guys that are out here preaching this hate, they do not have a better option. I guarantee you, they don't have a better option. They just call names, they come in, they do all this riggedy-raggedy stuff, and they have no way of solving or creating a solution. And who wants to hang their hat on that type of tree? There's no hope in it, so why even bother? But together we can figure this thing out, and that's why we try to, at Watching the World, we have great moderators, great people, great watchers, and hopefully together we can elevate, and I thank you. I thank you dearly.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.